Let me ask you something. What games do you think of when I say Kirby games on the Switch? Oh, Kirby the Forgotten Land being Kirby's grand entrance to 3D. Oh, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for being an awesome remake of the original Wii game. Oh, those 3 spin-off games that are very different from each other. Though those are all good games, the one I'm looking for is the first Kirby game ever released on the Switch, that being Kirby Star Allies. Not many people talk about this one, and today we're going to find out why. Also, just so you know, there won't be any final boss spoilers. Before I begin talking about the game itself, I want to talk about my relationship with the game. The year was 2017, and at that time I was still enjoying the Wii U and 3DS. I saw the Mario Odyssey trailer, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe trailer, and Splatoon 2 trailer, but it wasn't anything that made me want to switch. But then, June 2017 hit.
Sometimes you need a hero. A sword swinging, fire wielding, stone cold hero with an insatiable appetite?
10-year-old me was absolutely shocked. Look at how good it looks. You can make helpers like in Superstar, but this time it's 4-player? This was the game that made me want to switch. Not to mention that the first Smash Ultimate trailer released shortly after. I got a Switch a year later, and my first games were Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, and Kirby Star Allies. I was so happy to finally own Star Allies, and I ended up really enjoying the game. The game also received new updates over time, and I got the game shortly before Wave 2 released. I was lucky enough to play every game in the series that had these characters before I got Star Allies. And I didn't become a Kirby fan until 2016, so I played all of these games in the span of 2 years. Quite impressed, actually. But we'll get back to what those guys are later. Fast forward to 2019, and I started watching lore videos for Kirby games, and that's what really started to transform me into the Kirby fan I am now. That's also when I learned about the lore to this game, but I won't talk about that in this video, otherwise this video would be way longer than what I already wanted it to be. Later that year, I let my friend borrow the game since he was also a Kirby fan. And next thing you know, he lost the game and never found it. So I never played the game again until years later. Over those years though, I started seeing what everyone thought about Star Allies. And to my surprise, people were saying that the game was bad. I understood everything they said, but deep down I knew it couldn't be that bad. I had fond memories of the game, but I knew that as a kid, you don't think about the flaws of a game at all. Finally, it was late August of 2023. I see a copy of Star Allies and I decide to buy it. I was going to see if this game really was just bad after all, or if I was right and it was indeed overhated. I put it on the shelf and waited until I bought more equipment for my channel. And here I am, a year later, blabbering about a silly game made for kids that's apparently bad. I fully replayed the game a few weeks ago, and now it's time to see if this game indeed really is bad, or if it's a hidden gem. The game starts off with this cute little intro if you wait on the title screen for a few seconds. And my gosh, this intro is filled to the brim with charm and care. This is looking good so far. It shows that the team put out their heart and soul into this. Clicking on the game's story mode greets us with the story and plot that we see in this cutscene. Somewhere far in the galaxy, we see a priest-like character unleashing this big purple heart that explodes and scatters into shards across the galaxy. Sound familiar? The shards travel all the way to planet Popstar, where we see the residents just doing their normal things. Meta Knight was dusting off his sword, Dee was looking at the sky seeing them all fall, and Kirby of course was taking a nap. These purple hearts are called Jamba hearts. They're so powerful that even staring at them causes possession. Thankfully, Kirby was lucky enough to have a pink heart land on him instead of a purple one. The pink hearts apparently come from the needles that was sealing the big Jamba heart. Kirby wakes up and sees that all the Waddle Dees are carrying a bunch of food and are heading towards Mount Dedede. Kirby immediately takes action and knows what's happening because there's only one explanation. Dedede is going back to his greedy ways, and that's how the story began. Now we can finally get onto the gameplay. The game controls just like any other modern Kirby game. If you played the 3DS or Return to Dreamland Deluxe, you know what I'm talking about. Kirby can walk, run, hover, inhale, spit, guard, and copy abilities. However, the ability to make helpers from Superstar returns, and it's much different and a lot better if you ask me. Kirby can summon a heart thanks to his new ability, and throw it at an enemy that has unique powers, and it becomes his new allies. Kirby can have up to 3 allies, and they all have the same controls as Kirby does when he has that ability. They can all be controlled with 2, 3, or 4 players, or they can be controlled by a CPU. These allies do more than just help you in battle. They also give you different elements for your ability if you have one that can use it. They can also be used to make friend abilities, the game's main gimmick. Return to Dreamland had the super abilities, Triple Deluxe had the Hypernova, Planet Robobot had the Robobot armor, and Star Allies has the friend abilities. There's many of them too, such as the Friend Train, the Friend Circle, and the Friend Bridge. Unfortunately, these aren't as fun to do. They're mainly just timing jumps or helping this goober get across to unlock a door. But the Friend Star is where the fun begins. You get to fly around and destroy enemies in this gigantic star, and it's pretty fun. Now let's get into the game's level design, and this is unfortunately where the game isn't fun for most people. The levels are filled with gimmicks and puzzles to solve, but here's the thing, these aren't hard to solve in the slightest. Kirby games are known for being easy, even for 100%, but Star Allies takes it a step further by making it stupidly easy. How easy are we talking? Like Mario Boss easy. Yeah, it's that bad. The allies just do stuff for you. Like, come on man, this game is just playing itself at this point. Well, what about the bosses? Are those at least harder? Not in the slightest. Again, the allies just do it all for you. Sometimes I would just fight bosses by myself and occasionally without any copy abilities, just to amp up the difficulty. Now this game is targeted for multiplayer, and even though I never played the whole game with a group of friends, I know someone who has, and he says it's the best multiplayer experience on the Switch. Though I haven't experienced it myself, I take his word for it. Well, is the game long at least? Nope, even for 100%, this game only takes like 5 to 6 hours. For the main mode, that is. Jeez, I can see why people don't like this game now. There's so many problems this game has that weren't in the other games before it. Not to mention that this game launched at $60, while the 3DS games launched at $40. Is there anything good about this game? I'm sure you noticed by the gameplay on screen that this game looks pretty good. The graphics do look good, but the game is unfortunately capped at 30 FPS. For a game like Forgotten Land, 30 FPS is fine. Return to Dreamland Deluxe looks just as good, if not better than Star Allies, and that game runs at 60 FPS. Why can't Star Allies? The game is more than capable of running better because the title and mode select screens all run at 60 FPS, but the frames drop every now and then. You're reminding me a bit of Scarlet and Violet with the way you run. Unlike that game though, the game makes up for it for actually looking good visually. The levels are filled with little details and gorgeous looking environments. Not to mention those cutscenes, man. Those are also very good looking. Also, the music is incredible. And yes, all of the music you've been hearing in this video is all from this game. The game is filled with amazing tracks, some even being from past Kirby games or even remixes of old songs. All of the extra levels include songs from past Kirby games. I had to put down my controller when I heard Beautiful Prison from Kirby Triple Deluxe. Now that we're far in the adventure now, we can talk about what's going on in the story. When we made our way to Mount Dedede, we encountered Wispy Woods once again, but this time he had incredible new powers. This is all from the power of the Jamba Heart that possessed him. After we defeat Wispy, we follow it and head towards Mount Dedede, and here we see that he definitely was back to his greedy self. He attacks like how he normally does, but just like Wispy, he gained a brand new power. He has never been this strong before. Being able to swing himself around the pillars like that and crushing the floor is crazy. But this is Kirby he's fighting. He doesn't stand a chance. After Dedede is defeated, the Jamba Heart gets released and the credits roll. but that was just the introduction. The Jamba Heart floats up in the air and flees. Now Kirby follows it throughout Popstar, and he encounters Meta Knight. Meta Knight was possessed too, and just like Wispy and Dedede, he gained a new power. Meta Knight can now summon boulders from literally nowhere, and can split into 4. That is if you have 4 players. Anyway, Meta Knight gets defeated. And oh yeah, you can turn both Dedede and Meta Knight into allies after you defeat them. And I think this is a good time to talk about the Dream Friends. Earlier I talked about how characters from different games appear in this game, and those are all called Dream Friends. The first patch of this game only had Bandana D, King Dedede, and Meta Knight. Dedede and Meta Knight being unlockable after you defeat them. But the game also had free DLC that released Rick Kainaku from Dreamland 2, Marks from Kirby Superstar, and Gooey from Dreamland 3. Those were from the first update. The second wave brought Adeline and Ribbon from Kirby 64, Dark Meta Knight from Amazing Mirror, and DeRoach from Kirby Squeak Squad. And the final update included Magalore from Return to Dreamland, Tyranza from Triple Deluxe, and Susie from Planet Robobot. There's also one last Dream Friend released in this update, but that would involve spoiling the game, so the inclusion of it, or rather them, will be absent. However, the final wave also included a new post-game mode that we'll talk about later. The Dream Friends all have their own unique abilities, and are different from regular copy abilities. Some are similar though, like how Meta Knight is based off of Sword, Dedede being based off of Hammer, and Adeline and Ribbon being based off the Artist ability. They still have their fair share of unique moves too. Characters like Bandana D and Susie are based off of already existing abilities that aren't in this game. Bandana D having the full spear moveset, while Susie has some moves from the Jet ability. She also has her mech that makes you feel like you're playing Robobot, which I love. Characters like Marks, DeRoach, and Magalore have entirely unique moves, and all of the Dream Friends have moves based off of the games they're from. It's awesome being able to use these moves, especially with characters who were originally bosses in the games they're from. Anyways, back to the story. After Meta Knight was defeated, some sort of spaceship landed on Popstar, that being Jambastion. The Jamba Heart followed it, so Kirby and his crew head towards it. On their path, they come across Pawn and Khan, who are from Dreamland 3, and are for some reason the guards of Jambastion. Luckily, Kirby defeated them both once again, and turned them into friends so that they would open the gate for them. While they were in Jambastion, they come across someone named Francisca, who states that she is gathering the Jamba Hearts so that their twisted vision will become unthawed? But this is Kirby you're fighting. They eventually meet Francisca's sister, Flamberge, who doesn't even mention the Jamba Heart. She's just mad that you defeated her sister. You already know what happens. Continuing the path takes us to Zan Partizan, the oldest of the 3 generals of magic. She said that she was given orders to destroy Kirby by Lord Highness. Yeah, this guy here, that's his name. However, Zan is much more dedicated to her job than the others. She goes out of her way to destroy the core of Jambastion just to kill Kirby along with it. But with the power of friends and allies on his side, Kirby was able to escape. Now they're deep in space, on their way to the Jambastion base. There are many planets to see here. Reminds me of Milky Way Wishes. And yeah, that's the story mode. Though it was baby easy, it's honestly not that bad. Still isn't great, far from it, but it's not bad either. Now for the post game. This is where the game really shines, honestly. Guest Star is nothing more than a time attack, but you get to play as any of the helpers, even the Dream Friends after you beat it. Outside of being a time attack mode, this is a good way to learn all the characters' different abilities, and it's honestly replayable. But that's just a time attack mode, nothing special. But Heroes in Another Dimension, oh man, it's awesome. And it continues the story of the main mode too. This was the post game that the final update added, that I talked about briefly. Not going to talk about the story of course, but the gameplay is so much better. Taking the ideas from the main story mode and actually making it harder, now that's what I'm talking about. It has you go through different challenge rooms for different abilities, and it has you master their moves as well as the Dream Friends abilities. This right here is where Star Allies is at its most fun, and the bosses are significantly harder too. This time I actually need more allies and abilities to defeat them. and the mode's main goal is to collect as many hearts as you can, for story reasons. And the music is incredibly clever. It's 4 different Kirby songs in one, each one being from the final level from these 3 games. While the final part of the song is a remix of Rainbow Resort from Kirby's Adventure. So yeah, Heroes in Another Dimension is definitely the highlight of the game, but there's still 3 more modes left. Chop Champs and Star Slam Heroes aren't really anything special, just fun mini-games. I was able to get a perfect score on both of them back then though. And finally, we have the ultimate choice. This is the game's boss rush mode. If you've played a Kirby game, you already knew that this was coming. Unlike stuff like the Arena and True Arena though, you actually get to change the difficulty. I love the way Kirby looks when you change the difficulties. You even got a reference to Kirby Rapid Gacha there. You unlock this just by being the main mode, but as you beat Guest Star and Heroes in Another Dimension, you unlock harder difficulties. Soul Melter EX is where the true version of the final boss is at, something Kirby games have been doing for several years now. Luckily, the Dream Friends have busted and broken moves that give you invincibility as well as strong attack power. Just like Heroes in Another Dimension, this is really fun. Throughout the game, you'll collect puzzle pieces, and it's the game's equivalent to keychains and stickers from Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot respectively. Completing a puzzle panel awards you with art. They were made from artists of the team, as well as artists from different companies. It shows how supportive everyone was with this game, and how I was definitely wanting this to be the best game in the series. There's so many details, references, and a lot of fan service in this game that makes your average Kirby fan happy. It makes sense for why this was one of my favorite Kirby games back then, and why I never saw it as a bad game, because all of the effort put in this game blinded me from the core game itself. So that's Kirby Star Allies. And was it good? Was it just like the internet said? Was it really overhated? I can comfortably say that yes, the internet definitely was wrong about this game. When going on Metacritic, you'll see that this game has a 73 out of 100, which shortened down is 7.3 out of 100. And honestly, I think that's the most accurate rating this game deserves. I personally give it an 8 out of 10. It's just very enjoyable. But a 7.3 out of 10 is definitely the highest rating this game deserves. Thankfully HAL listened when making the next big game in the series, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And look at how that game turned out. It became my favorite Switch game of all time. That's right, despite my videos being flooded with Smash Ultimate content, I actually enjoyed this game right here more. But HAL was probably trying to show that this is maybe Kirby's last traditional 2D game. He had been the 2D side-scrolling goober for over 25 years by that point, and it was finally time for him to enter a new dimension.